The bedding within your coop is the fundamental layer of your coop ecosystem. It controls the moisture that's in your coop. It controls the temperature, making sure that it cools off in the summer and it stays nice, warm, and cozy in the winter. It helps maintain the waste that's within your coop, and it can even attribute to the health of your chickens depending on if you're using the right type of bedding for your coop or not. I'm going to talk through the type of bedding that we use in our coop, the way and method that we use bedding in our coop, as well as the 7 best bedding types that you can be using in your coop. And let's start off with the different tactics that you can be using bedding within your coop. First off, you want to make sure that whatever source of bedding that you're using, which we will go into the 7 best types, you are making sure that you're doing it in the way that works best for you. That could be changing out your bedding. So when you do find there's a lot of waste in your coop, that you are routinely cleaning out the bedding. This means that you might be doing a small layer of bedding on the bottom, and every week or a couple of days, depending on the size of your flock, the size of your coop, you are cleaning out that bedding. Now, that is something that we used to do, but we no longer do because we use the deep litter method. The deep litter method is actually a way that you can, I think, is less time consuming, easier, and helps with your garden and compost in general, because all you're doing is you're creating a nice base layer and then you are adding bedding on top of it, making sure that you have enough of the right matter in your coop to actually form a nice bedding that's going to slowly start to compost underneath the chickens. We usually will start this in the early spring. We'll clean out our coop on an annual basis, cleaning out all the bedding that was in our coop. We'll leave a small layer of the bedding to kickstart the process. And then we'll use some brown and green layers of composted materials in order to create that bedding in the coop. Throughout the spring, summer, fall, and into the winter, we will pile on more and more. Our chickens will scratch at it, and we will also make sure that we are turning the coop matter every week, every 2 weeks, depending on the size of your flock. Right now we have a smaller flock, so we have to do more work for them. But if you have a larger flock and they're scratching at it, sometimes I'll leave food in there, then they might be doing a lot of the work for you, and then it will start to actually compost below it. And what's really great about this method is if you do live in a seasonal area where temperatures can drop over the winter or colder months, then this composting will actually provide heat for your coop, and we have not had to heat our coop once we started using the deep litter method. I have more videos on the deep litter method. I will link them down below because I don't want to jump too much into it, but you either can be routinely cleaning or using the deep litter method. Both are going to require routine work, but just a different style, and works what's going to work best with you, your coop, and your chickens. All while doing this, we do want to make sure that you are still following the proper way of setting up your coop, that you have a nice ventilation and air flow throughout your coop. You are allowing for your chickens to have a nice outdoor run or space for free ranging. You're giving them fresh water and feed on a regular basis. We like to offer up free, cool water at all times of year. And then in the winter, obviously, we will heat their water. And we also offer free and unlimited feed. We use Nature Serve for our chicken feed, and our chickens absolutely love it. And it is really what helps our chickens thrive in this coop. You also want to make sure that you have areas for them to have shade overhead. As you can see here, we have nice sunny areas that they're allowed to see the beautiful sun, get some of the vitamin D, which does go into their eggs when you do eat them. And you also are allowing them to have nice shaded areas from the hotter days to stay cooler. When thinking about the different types of bedding that you can have in your coop, there's a few things to think about. The first one is absorbency. You want to choose a bedding that's going to be nice and absorbent. Your chickens are going to have droppings all the time. There's no way to prevent it. And the size of your flock just means more droppings. They're also pretty messy animals and will most likely, when they're drinking water, spill some of that as well. So I would recommend finding a bedding that's going to be nice and absorbent. With that, you want to make sure that it's also not too dusty. Chickens love to take dust baths, but if you have a bedding that is too dusty, it can lead to respiratory infections or diseases in your chickens. Also not going to be great for you because you're going to be needing to go into the coop to collect eggs, to clean out the coop, and to generally hang out with your chickens, so you don't want something that's going to be too dusty. This is also going to be the home for your chickens. So find a bedding that is nice and comfy, something that they actually want to walk around, lay in, and something that they actually enjoy, because they're going to be living in your coop and you want them to enjoy it as well. Some other things to think about are probably a little more towards you, but make sure that you choose a bedding that is easy to clean up. If you're going to be doing something that you're routinely cleaning or you're turning, make sure that it's a clean type of bedding. This will also mean that you'll get nice clean eggs and not as dirty of eggs that you have to be cleaning and washing, because we all know that washing eggs actually will lead them to not last as long, and it removes the protective layer around the egg. So anything you can do to have clean eggs from the start is going to be a win-win. You also want to think about not only cleaning up after your chickens, but generally the odor of your bedding. If you choose a nice bedding that's going to absorb some of those smells or not add to them, is going to be prime, because you don't want to be walking past or even be far away from your coop and smell it. Chicken coops smell oftentimes, so anything you can do to lower that bad smell is going to be a win-win for both you and the chickens. All right, let's jump into some of the best beddings that we think. The first one is the bedding that we actually use, and that is pine shavings. It's great because it has a great piney smell to it, which really helps, especially when you lay a nice soft layer of the pine shavings within your bed. It is nice and comfortable, absorbent, so it's going to absorb a lot of the liquids. Sometimes by our watering dishes, water will come out, and it does absorb it pretty nice with those pine shavings. It's also really soft on the feet. The chickens really enjoy walking on that fluffy pine shaving layer, and it works really great as a base for our deep litter method. Another great option for bedding is straw. We use straw within our nesting boxes, which we really like because it's nice, fluffy, it's very cost effective, easy to get, which is really great when you're on a budget with chickens. The downside, although it is fast at composting, it can retain a lot of moisture and it can retain a lot of that scent as well. So that brings it down in the meter of an enjoyable bedding because of those cons for me. If you're a cat fan, then this bedding is probably going to speak to you, and that is sand. We've never used sand in our coop, but I have researched a lot about it and really thought of it as a method that could be great to use. What's really great about this is it's low dust and it's really easy to clean. It's similar to what you would do with a cat litter box. You're able to easily scoop out a lot of the droppings that are in there and easily clean it up from your coop. It's also going to be nice and absorbent, so you're going to find that you're able to really clean up a lot of that as well. One thing that I don't like about it is you need to get really large bags of sand. It can be hard to source, more expensive, and you do need to make sure that you are routinely cleaning it because it's not going to necessarily compost into all of the bedding materials. Similar to the deep litter method that you'd be using with pine shavings, you can't really do with sand. Another option you can try is hemp bedding. This is really great absorbency. It is low dust, so it's not going to lead to any respiratory items here, and it's usually going to last a pretty long time. Another low cost bedding that you can be using is paper, shredded paper. This is really great. I see it with chicks oftentimes. It's a really great easy way to get into raising chickens. It's obviously going to be a nice way to recycle other materials that you already have. It's going to be nice and absorbent. You are going to need to clean it quite regularly, but if you're looking for a low cost way to actually recycle that use something that you already have in your house, this is going to be a great method. Another item that you can use that is pretty recyclable is wood chips. We actually get wood chips delivered to do a lot of the wood chipping around our house, and there's free services like mulch drop, or something like that. If it's not called that, I will leave the name here. But they offer free ways that you can get mulch delivered to your house. You can also mulch your own trees. We will oftentimes mix this in with the pine shavings and lay that on the bottom of our coop. It's a nice way to actually reuse, recycle. It's low dust. We find that it does compost pretty well, and it's a low cost way to find bedding for your coop. Number 7 is peat moss. It's highly absorbent and a great and natural resource that you can be using in your chicken coop. Another great aspect about it is that it's really great at insulation. So this is going to be something that if you are looking to keep your coop warm in the winter, this might be a really great option for you. These are just 7 of the different types of beddings that I've researched and thought about using in our coop. In the end, we do use a combination of pine shavings. We will use some grass clippings to get some green matter in there, as well as wood chips, and we will create a nice little mixture that can compost throughout the year and then in the winter actually be warming the coop using the deep litter method. I'd love to hear what method you're using or thinking about using for your coop and why in the comments down below. If this was helpful, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!